Hello and welcome once again to In Depth, the show where we go deep into a big story of the day. And today our focus is on examinations in Corona times. Amidst the raging pandemic, hundreds and thousands of students are struggling across the globe with their future uncertain. Remember, while businesses shut down, shutters, lakhs rendered unemployment, education has never witnessed a disruption as big as this. An entire academic year for many seems to be going to waste. And the biggest hurdle has been faced by those appearing for their board examinations across the country. At first, the board examinations were suspended midway, that left lakhs of students in the lurch. And today, barely 5 days before the CBSE exams were to be held, the government, through the court, the Supreme Court, decided that the 10th and 12th standard exams will be cancelled. That's our big news story and the focus of In Depth today. Take a look.
Nerves, last-minute preparations, furtive looks. When students across India appeared for their school certification board examinations in early March 2020, little did anyone imagine that within a month, these students would face exam blues of a different kind. The coronavirus pandemic currently gripping the world has pushed the pause button on most things, including education and board exams. The CBSE was in the midst of conducting the Class 10 and 12 board examinations across India when the government ordered schools to shut in order to protect children from the virus, forcing multiple education boards, including the CBSE, to cancel exams scheduled to be conducted after March 20th. For many children, this sudden interruption meant they were left with just 1 or 2 subjects pending. But 3 months later, with COVID-19 caseload only rising, the Solicitor General of India, Tushar Mehta, informed Supreme Court that board examinations for both Class 10th and 12th stand cancelled. Class 12 students will now be promoted on the basis of performance of last 3 exams and will have an option to choose for an exam later at a conducive time. However, for Class 10 students, there is no option of examinations later.
The Solicitor General made this statement also that they are working on some mechanism to award marks for the remaining paper as per the assessment. They have a policy which they will be producing before the court tomorrow.
By Friday morning, the CBSE will clarify to the Supreme Court what will be the timeline if they allow certain Class 12 students to take the exams if they so desire, and what happens to the state boards. But for now, a big sigh of relief.
The decision came after Delhi, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu and Odisha conveyed their inability to conduct the examinations due to the rising cases. And it will affect the fate of around 30 lakh students who had been waiting for a concrete decision from CBSE for months. A CBSE notification will be released on Friday with the details on internal assessment scheme and a timeline for the whole process to declare the CBSE board exams 2020 results.
So the CBSE exams have been cancelled. Now, along with the CBSE exam cancellation, the Council for Indian School Certificate Examination, or ICSE, has also decided to cancel the remaining board examinations for Class 10 and 12. Kamlesh Sutar gets you more details on the ICSE exams.
When coronavirus struck India, educational institutions were among the first to be shut down. And the ongoing board examinations were put off for later. That was in March. 2 months later, most of these education boards announced fresh dates for the resumption of exams in the first week of July, leaving students as well as parents concerned as COVID-19 cases continued to climb up across the country. But today, After taking into consideration CBSE's decision, the ICSE board too has decided to cancel all pending exams for class 10th and 12th.
Parents and students of ICSE boards have been oscillating between yes and no for last couple of months. First, it was anxiety over whether exams would be conducted or not. And secondly, even if exams are cancelled, what is going to be the methodology for marks? Last 2 months have been difficult for students and parents alike.
Advocate Rajdeep Gupta, appearing for CISE at the Supreme Court, said that while ICSE will follow the CBSE decision of cancelling examinations, it will not give an option to students to write their exam later. The students will now be promoted on the basis of internal assessment. This comes a day after Maharashtra government told the Bombay High Court that the ICSE board cannot be permitted to conduct its pending Standard 10 and 12th exams.
So has the Supreme Court taken the right step? Is this the right decision to cancel CBSE and ICSE exams? I'm joined by Jatin Sial. He's a parent of a ICSE student and has been taking up this issue. And Rekha Krishnan, principal, Vasant Valley School, which is affiliated to the CBSE board. I want to come to you, Mrs. Krishnan, first, because do you believe that this is the right decision to give the option in a way to the students to decide either they do the exam at a later date or you give them their marks based on their performance in the last year? Do you believe this is the right balance that has been struck?
I think so. I think given the condition, the pandemic, the numbers rising in our country, I think it is a sensible decision to take by the Supreme Court, and because it gives the choice to the students that if later when things are under control and the CBSE can conduct examinations, the children will have the option of taking the examinations, because there are many children, Mr. Sardesai, who are really going to be disappointed with the internal assessment scores being reported as their CBSE board exam results. So I think it is a sensible decision, but the option should be there because children are very keen to write those exams, especially those students who are looking for admission in Indian universities, in universities where there is an offer made on the basis of your class 12 results. For many students who are going to colleges where admissions have already been given, they are not concerned. But for the large cross-section of our children in all schools across the country, their education, higher education dreams are in India, and for them, the examination results make a huge difference. Each mark makes a difference in the Delhi University admission. So we need to be fair. It reminds me of running of a long distance runner who in the last lap, just when they're getting ready to run the last lap and do their sprint, suddenly they say, no, time out, you cannot do it. And we will calculate your average time in the previous 9 laps that you did. And that is the way that we'll give you the time on that. That is not fair. It doesn't seem fair if I look at individual students, but when I look at the macro perspective, it seems to be a sensible and right decision given the time we are in.
And sensible decision to take to the students who they want to take an exam at a future later date, stabilize that the court have said no exam 2020 ruled out.
8 exams, and we wish that it had completed, but the situation is such according to, because of the virus in this country, that you can't even step out of the house. How can you expect your children to go and give exams at this moment? So at this juncture, it's completely ruled out that we wanted our children to go and give the exams. So now giving at a later date, well, I'm not in for it myself, because I feel that now internal assessment is fine when we are concerned, and I'm sure a lot of parents are for it also.
You know, internal assessment versus exam, though, Mr. Sial, is a long-running debate. It's a debate which, when I was in school, was also playing out. And I'm talking about the late 70s, early 80s. As parents, do most parents want internal examination in preference to the final exam? Is that what you're saying? Or is it simply because of the corona pandemic that you are worried about the safety of your children?
Absolutely. We are worried about the safety of our children. We are worried that they go and they are exposed to the virus, as we've been told that you get exposed when you meet people, when you're with people, when you're in company of other people. It's not that, it's never happened that we would not want our children to give the board exams, and we would look for an alternative. We are not trying to change the education systems. We're just trying to say that at this moment, it's not safe enough for our children to go and give exams because of the virus. And that's all to it. I mean, there's nothing, in all fairness, our children have given pre-board, they have given brilliant, they have given internal assessment exam, they've done the best all along. I agree with that last 100-meter sprint. I agree. Yes, we save it. As an actor, we do rehearsals and then we save the last for the take. But it's sometimes if the rehearsal is as good as recorded, then it's fine for us. But I mean, this is just not a comparison. But I'm just saying that this moment is not right for the children to go and give exams physically and mentally.
Interesting. The mental aspect, Rekha Krishnan, is an important element. Look at the students in a lockdown, uncertain about the future. Clearly, it's affected them mentally. Many of them not sure which college will I get into. Can I appear for a competitive exam? It's been difficult on the students. Has that been part of the challenge? And to that extent, not having examinations at least ends one element of uncertainty for now.
The emotional element is a very, very important aspect of the conversations that we've been having with our children in the last 2 months. Almost all students. So in one way, the fact that the Supreme Court has said that no examinations or examinations become optional is ending that confusion for the students. But the students most students who we have been talking to are saying we would like to take the examinations when it is safe. We've got tired of studying because you can't study that one subject that most students are waiting to take the examination and for months together. But we would like to take it because, as I said earlier, their internal assessment marks are not in any way comparable to the marks that they score in a board examination. And we all know that. So the whole debate between reporting internal assessment scores, which they knew was only a dress rehearsal, as the final performance, I don't know the viability or the correctness of it. But so when I look at a micro perspective, it seems unfair. But when I look at the macro picture, it seems to be the sensible thing to do. And somewhere we need to find a middle ground. So what the Supreme Court has said that give an option is perhaps the right thing to do. How are we going to calculate the internal assessment marks is something that we all need to wait and watch and see.
Is that going to be standardized, Ms. Krishnan? Is that going to be standardized? Would different schools have the same system, or is that the worry that now with internal assessment, different schools will have very different parameters?
Absolutely. Each school has their own set of internal assessment examinations. They are marked differently. Their correlation of that, the whole system is different in each school. There are some students feel that there are some schools which will bump up their scores, whereas others might not bump up the scores, and so they will be at a disadvantage vis-a-vis. And in Delhi University, each mark matters. So if my school has said, no, I am not bumping up your score, so the CBSE is sitting on a very, very difficult place where it needs to be a credible agency in reporting scores for the students. It cannot take scores from the schools and report just that. There has to be an algorithm, a formula that will be developed, and I'm sure CBSE is going to do that.
Right.
Which they need to use that to bump up the scores. There are many models we can use, and we can discuss that if we have the time. But there is that sense of not being fair because my internal assessment scores are different from the internal assessment scores of another school, and that will loom large in the minds of the children who are going to finish these exams.
Because that is going to become an important factor when given the fact that colleges in this country, particularly the leading colleges, demand 98%, 97%. I'm just wondering how that is going to happen, Ms. Krishnan. A quick answer.
I was looking at various models of doing the calculation. We could perhaps look at, looking at the 5 subjects across the board. Then because each child has taken 4 examinations, at least 3 or 4 examinations, you look at the deviation of his or her internal assessment score and the scores that they have got in the CBSE examinations that they have already written and got the results for. The CBSE already has those results. Then look at that difference and increase your 5th subject's internal assessment score in the same proportion.
Wow.
So
that is going to be quite a task, but it's possibly one of the models. I really feel in a sense sorry for some of the students who've had to do their final exams in 2020. But Mr. Sial, final word from you. Are your children confident now of facing the future? Or are they still worried and tense even after today's verdict?
No. are not tense at all, and they are very confident. And please understand that this situation has arisen because of a pandemic. This has nothing to do with education system, learning, and all those things. This is just a situation. We cannot allow our children to go out and give examination. Now, how the board calculates and how they do it is all administrative issues, and they have to be looked at. And I'm sure it is going to be that everybody is going to be uniform over the situation. And they are going to be calculated on the basis of the efforts of the students who have already made. The prelims they have given, the internal assessment, they have done their own bit.
Okay.
So it's based on that only. So it's the same brain which worked here was going to work.
Point taken. But I think it's been well said. This was to be the last 100-meter sprint where they've been stopped. The fact, though, is that this has been a tough year for the academic community and schools across the country. Thank you both very much for joining us and giving us a sense of what lies ahead and what this Supreme Court verdict means. Time now for a short break on In Depth. When we return, we're going to turn to a state that has already decided to conduct all its examinations even during the pandemic. Why is Karnataka ahead of the pack? Stay tuned. Welcome back to In Depth, where we are looking at examinations in Corona times on a day when the Supreme Court has ruled there will be no CBSE exams for 10th and 12th as of now. But there is one state where, despite the pandemic, has decided to go ahead and hold the Class 10 board exams. Karnataka has shown itself to be ahead of the pack. The secondary school leaving certificate or SSLC exams began in Karnataka this morning amidst tight security and precautions. Take a look. Nolan Pinto has this report.
Over 8,48,000 students appeared for the SSLC or Class 10 board exams in 2,879 centres across Karnataka this morning. Months it was delayed due to the coronavirus pandemic. In Bengaluru, for an exam that was to begin at 10:30 a.m., anxious students began arriving at the centres as early as 8 in the morning.
There were only 20 students in a class and there were very good social distancing, and full day we should wear masks.
With cases in the city on a rise, students as well as their parents are a worried lot.
Delay it at least for 6 months. 3 months or 6 months, when the normal situation becomes normal, let them do it at that time. This is not the right time to do it.
The examination was to take place on March 27th, but was put on hold due to the lockdown. And the state government's decision to hold board exams now with an increasing caseload was met with opposition.
They should give an option to the students, at least now. Those who do not want to attend the exams due to COVID or due to whatever reasons, they should be given one more chance to appear for the exam.
But the Yedurappa government decided to go ahead with the schedule, claiming all precautions have been taken for the safe conduct of examinations.
We can't avoid these kind of exams. That was a very crucial, very important exam. I think it's a good thing. The exams have been conducted in the interest of students only. I think since it's going on very successfully.
So even while the pandemic rages on, life cannot and should not stop. So the students have finally written their first 10th standard board examination after a delay of almost 3 long months and are happy with the safety measures put in place by the government of Karnataka.
Among the southern states, Telangana, Tamil Nadu and Puducherry have cancelled board exams. Karnataka, however, was encouraged from Kerala's experience, where board exams were held with social distancing and nobody got infected.
Karnataka a step ahead of the rest. Now, while the verdict on CBSE and ICSE board exams is out, what about the future of those who were seeing this as a platform to study abroad? With countries having strict norms for incoming people from foreign countries, the fate of those who take admissions in universities abroad still hangs in the balance. Take a look.
The disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic has thrown a spanner in the admissions process of universities across the world, dashing the hopes of many students from India who plan to apply to these foreign universities. According to data from the Ministry of Human Resource Development, more than 6,20,000 Indian students went abroad in 2018-2019. Although many Indian students who were studying in these universities abroad are now back home and continuing their education through online classes, those who were all set to apply for the 2020-21 batch are now stuck in limbo.
I still have my computer science exam left because of the novel coronavirus and the lockdown imposed to prevent it from spreading. Speaking on behalf of all my peers, we are really left in a difficult position because of our board exams. They aren't over, and because of that, the results are not being evaluated. As for the exams like the SATs and the APs that are crucial for international admissions are either being cancelled or held online. So all the people who were thinking of taking a gap year or the ones who are currently in 12th and looking forward to applying are left with nothing.
Even internationally, admissions into the next academic year would be challenging for foreign students applying to universities abroad. The large market-oriented university systems in the US, UK, Australia and Canada recently raised their tuition fees and borrowed heavily to invest in attracting more international students. Currently, more than 5 million international students crisscross the globe to attain a better education. These students also typically pay higher fees than their domestic counterparts. Universities UK, the body that represents British higher education, has warned of a potential drop in income of £7 billion in the coming academic year. Universities Australia estimates its members will lose up to 4.6 billion Australian dollars in revenues this year. Australia also claims 21,000 jobs in the education sector are at risk in the next 6 months. Universities like Stanford and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology have closed their admissions offices indefinitely, though they continue to process applications which have already been submitted. Yale University officials say all new admissions-related decisions will be announced by July. For now, most universities across the world are quiet about taking international students. Standardized tests like SAT, ACT, GMAT and TOEFL have either been cancelled or postponed at many international locations, creating further confusion over how students would be evaluated. Like everything else to do with the pandemic, there is a huge sense of uncertainty prevailing in the education sector. As for those students who thought that they were on the cusp of passing out, the future course of action currently seems to be shrouded in indecision as well.
That's all we have on In Depth today. Our thoughts, as I said, are with our young students. Better times, I'm sure, lie ahead. This too shall pass. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.